Hey YouTubers, thanks for joining us today on this edition. This is, I got a lot of calls this week about the air switch issue. Burner partially runs but doesn't completely run. What happens is Firelake uses an air switch proving switch to carry part of the amp load for the burner. So the part that the air switch generally carries, this is your air switch back here. The part that the air switch generally carries is the motor, the burner motor, and the igniter. So if your air switch is not running, you will not hear your burner motor. So if your air switch is not functioning, I mean. So you have to understand when you first try to start the burner, if you don't hear the burner motor, then it's go right to this air switch and start checking it out. We're going to show you how to break it down and diagnose it here in a minute. But watch, one thing I want you to look for right out of the gate is when I turn this burner on, if my air pressure goes up, now I know I have air pressure coming through the system. Now I'll quickly show you how the system works. It's unbelievable. Mr. Bender was absolutely the man. Your air comes in unadulterated and lowered, unregulated, and comes right in here to the air solenoid. This is important to understand because sometimes this air solenoid can get stuck. If it gets stuck open, when the burner shuts down, your motor and your igniter are still going to be running if it gets stuck with a piece of dirt and cannot close. If it cannot open because it's stuck, then you won't have your burner motor and your igniter running. I hope that makes sense to you. If not, we'll delve into it a little bit more here quickly or during this video. So you saw when I turned it on and had a call for heat, I got air. What that tells me is my air solenoid is working, my plunger is seating properly, and then is coming off the seat to let air in. Now here's where Firelake is brilliant. Nobody that I know of ever anywhere has this setup. It is totally insane. Firelake sticks an air tank in their burner. Are you kidding me? They actually put an air tank in their burner to hold shop air. So they bring it in. If your shop air is 150 pounds, it comes into this tank 150 pounds. Then it comes out of the tank through this second air pipe, this 1/4 inch steel pipe. It comes out into the regulator just before it goes into the slide out. So here's where we actually regulate the air. But first it goes in at 120, 150 PSI, comes out, then we knock it down to go directly into the slide out. The beauty of this is not only does that collect a lot of garbage in there from your compressor, because if your compressor is more than a few years old, it's got a lot of rust, dirt, junk in it. And that's coming in here if you're not defending it before it gets here. We actually have a regulator before our burner, and it's actually a filter as well, so it captures the water and the junk in it before we let it into our beautiful burner. That's a sin and a shame to let junk into this piece of artwork. Anyway, after your solenoid closes and shuts down, the beauty of this unit is it will then empty that air tank of 150 PSI through a regulator set for 15 to 20 PSI and through the slide out. So once everything shuts down, the air then continues to blow for 10 to 15 seconds through the nozzle to clean it out and get it ready for the next startup. Nobody else does that. Are you kidding me, boy? Just one of the many reasons why I like to tell y'all that Firelake has the most beautiful design burner on the planet. There is nobody like it. Unfortunately, my friend Mr. Bender that actually invented this burner passed away last summer, I believe the spring or summer of 2024. He will be greatly missed. That man was so much fun to talk to. I recently got to be friends with him, and he was just an awesome guy. On a positive note, he knew the Lord as his Savior. We would talk about that a lot. So I know the man's better off. He's spending eternity in heaven with Jesus right now. So how awesome is that? So anyway, here we are, our air tank. There is our switch. So all you do to remove that switch is make sure your air supply is turned off. You don't want to try to take that out. And then you can remove that switch. My technician is going to now tell you how you're going to diagnose that air switch. So stay tuned. Okay, so now Caleb's going to show us how we're going to test this switch.
Okay, so you've got 2 wires off your air switch. What I'm going to have you do is go to neutral with a voltmeter and go to each leg of your air switch. One leg should read 120 and the other leg should read 0, just like that, unless you're trying to run the burner. So when you go to run it and you flip your power switch to run, if you have air, you should read 120 on both sides, just like that. So if you have power on both sides, then there's 2 options. Either your air switch is working properly or it's stuck open. And if it's stuck open, you would realize that because even when you go to shut your burner off, that part's the motor will keep running. So more than likely your issue is gonna be not your air switch. If you have power going to both sides, it should be working properly. If you do not have power going through the air switch, then you either have a bad air switch or you don't have air going to it. So then you're gonna look at your air solenoid, because you may not have air going through it if the plunger inside is stuck, or you don't have power going to this, or if this part is bad. So I'll show you how to do that in a second, but the rebuild kit that we send actually comes with the nucleus and a new O-ring that'll go down inside of this, because they can get corrosion from the air and water that'll go in there. So that should be replaced with the rebuild kit that we send. But if you don't have air, or if you don't have power going through your switch, the first thing you want to do is turn the air off and just unthread the switch, making sure you know where the wires go. But then you'll turn the air on, and if you have air going to the switch, that means your solenoid opened and you have a bad switch. If you don't have air at your switch with the burner running and the air turned on, then you're going to your solenoid because you don't have air going through it.
Yeah, so no air going through it could be a bad solenoid, a bad electromagnet, or more than likely what we find is once you take this clip off and take this stem out, and you will find your plunger is stuck, rusty, that sort of thing. The plungers take a beating on these because it's on the air side.
You could also check to see if you have power going to the solenoid. So there's usually a purple and a white wire. You just follow it to the bar and then turn the burner on.
Yeah, man, flip it on.
Yeah. And you should have 120 volts. And that's working good.
Okay, so just to bring it back together real quick, black coming into this burner is power all the time. That is black. So then the blue wire for the air switch is hooked to black, which is power all the time. So this air switch, one side of it is powered up constantly. When you have a call for heat, the orange wire from the primary sends power over, and when the orange wire from the primary powers up the air solenoid, it blows air into the tank, makes this switch complete and make contact, and then it sends power to the other side, which brings it over here to the motor and a few other things like the oil solenoid
and the igniter. Yeah,
and the igniter, and of course the motor, as we spoke.
It also connects to orange, which comes into here.
And it also connects to orange, which powers up the oil solenoid, as I stated. Now, our next event here, we're going to simulate no air. So Caleb turned the air off going to the unit, and we unplugged it.
I'm gonna power it
And
up.
he's going to power it up. Now pretend that the lid is closed. Now listen, you don't hear the burner motor and you don't hear, go ahead, the igniter.
I'm gonna go to each leg of the air.
He's going to jump the air switch. Now there you go. Did you hear the burner motor kick on, I hope? Okay, that's good.
But no air.
Yeah. But you were sending oil in.
Yes.
So now what's going to happen is it's going to time out. Or now he added air and bam, she's a running. So again, that's how that part works. Now he's going to straight up just jump the solenoid. I'm sorry, jump the air switch and show you
Without the power?
without power what happens. Go ahead. Now what happens is the burner motor's going, and if I flipped open the igniter, you would see spark as well. The burner and the igniter are running. Now, on a Firelake burner, there are several varieties of the wiring, mainly because most years, the burner had a centrifugal switch on the burner motor. So they would also run a few things through that centrifugal switch as a safety feature. So once the burner motor got spinning through the air switch, it would then run a centrifugal switch and bring in, I believe, the oil solenoid. And then, but like on this one, if you notice, there are some jumper wires involved on the far end there. Normally, the burner motor would have a centrifugal switch on the second and the first and the second screws, joining them together. This one, we jump them because we don't have a centrifugal switch burner motor on this unit. I don't know if they couldn't get parts for them. I don't know if they had trouble with the parts they were using. I don't know why some years had the centrifugal switch and some did not, but it is a thing. All right, thank you.